Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. The box landed in front of me so hard my drink jumped. People went quiet in that messy instant like someone hit mute. I was turning 26 and pretending the noise still felt fun. My friend's boyfriend grinned down at me like this was normal. I am Maya, and I knew in that second something tilted. You know that heavy feeling when a joke walks in too big? Everyone watched him like a game show host who picked the wrong door. I laughed anyway because parties punish people who make things weird. He slid the bag closer and knocked my paper plate toward the edge. Careful, dude, you almost sent her dinner to the floor. People laughed, but it sounded thin, like a rehearsal for real laughter. He ignored them and kept his eyes locked on me and the box. He tapped the lid once and said, "Open it now." I joked that I would need a lawyer first, and people snorted. That came out more nervous than funny, and I felt my face heat. He just waited with that grin that never reached his eyes. I pulled the lid up and the room leaned with me. Inside was a designer purse that did not belong in my life. People recognized the logo before I did, and someone actually whistled low. Phones came out for pictures. Like this was a big reveal on television. My best friend Jenna stepped closer and rested a hand on my shoulder. Her smile looked sharp at the edges like it might cut someone. Her boyfriend stood behind the purse like a salesman waiting for praise. I felt pinned between their faces and the stupid, expensive thing on the table. Looking back, I should have stopped everything right there with one joke. I could have shoved the purse back toward him and called it insane. Instead, I waited and watched because curiosity always wins with me. I wanted to know how far he planned to push this moment. Someone near the couch muttered that he still owed money from last weekend. Another voice joked about his car being stuck at the shop forever. He threw them a look that said shut up without using any words. Then he leaned in closer to me and asked if I liked it. I said it was too much, and my voice shook on the last word. Too much? How, Maya? This is just a birthday present. Jenna squeezed my shoulder like a warning, and her nails dug in hard. She told him I loved it, but I was freaking out about attention. I ran my hand over the strap and tried to breathe like normal. The purse felt heavy in a way that had nothing to do with leather. I peeked inside expecting stuffing and tissue, and instead saw an envelope tucked flat. He watched that moment with bright eyes like he had been waiting for it. I slid the envelope open with my thumb because my hands were shaking. Inside was the receipt folded so neat it felt like part of the gift. The number stared back at me, and my brain refused to say it out loud. Rent level money, more than 1 month and maybe 2 depending on the place. I folded the paper again fast, but not before Jenna caught a glimpse. Her eyes went to him, then back to me, and I saw real panic. He shifted his weight like this was still a fun surprise and nothing else. In that second, I knew this was not just a bad gift choice. I stuffed the receipt deep into the purse and snapped it shut with force. I yelled cake time, and everyone cheered like the spell broke for a minute. People turned to the candles and the song, and I tried to smile along. Inside my head, though, it was just that number flashing like a warning light. Later, when everyone left, I stood alone in the kitchen with the purse. It sat on the counter like proof that something between us had shifted. I touched the strap once and felt that same heavy drop in my chest. I thought the problem was just the money, but I was very wrong. I stabbed the brand name into my phone so hard I missed letters. Autocorrect fixed it and the official site popped up instantly. My thumb hovered over the price page like it might burn. I already knew this was going to make my stomach flip. The number appeared and my breath just stalled in my chest. It was rent-size money plus groceries plus a little survival padding. I actually whispered no way to an empty room like an idiot. Looking back, that was the second I should have drawn a hard line. I checked the paper still tucked in the bag just to be sure. Same code, same name, same ridiculous amount staring up at me. Underneath, I caught the last 4 digits of his card and froze. He definitely paid for it himself, which somehow made everything worse. For a few seconds, I just walked slow circles around my tiny table. Part of me loved the idea that someone went that hard for me. Another part wanted to throw the whole thing down the trash chute. Both parts felt selfish, and I hated that it even crossed my mind. My phone buzzed with fresh photos from last night in the group chat. There I was holding the bag while everyone yelled and clapped. In every frame, he was right beside me, watching my face closely. Jenna stood on the edge of each shot with that tight half smile. New message from her appeared on top of the images like a banner. Alive after your superstar moment or still hiding under the table? I stared at it and felt my shoulders climb toward my ears. I typed 3 different answers before deleting each one slowly. I finally sent "Can we talk later, just us?" and hit send. The typing bubbles appeared, then disappeared like she kept changing her mind. "Work break at 2 near my building coffee place," was her answer. I read it 3 times trying to guess if she sounded angry. Until 2 I could not focus on anything beyond that weird bag. I tried to shove it back in the box and failed. It did not fold into normal life no matter how I pushed it. That thing sat on the chair like evidence waiting for a trial. On the way to meet her, I kept rehearsing neutral lines. "Crazy present, right? Your boyfriend is wild, we should return it together." Every version sounded accusatory or pathetic inside my head. I started wondering if staying silent would somehow be polite. The coffee place was busy enough to give us cover but not noise. She lifted a hand when she saw me and gave a quick hug. Her grip lingered half a second too long, like she needed confirmation. I smelled stress on her more than any perfume and my chest tightened. "So, birthday celebrity," she nudged my elbow and forced a small laugh. I watched her face instead of answering and the smile slipped. "You hate it that much?" She dropped a sugar packet and missed the trash. Watching it fall felt more honest than anything either of us said. "It costs more than my car insurance for months," I pushed out finally. Her gaze snapped up to mine like I had yanked a cord. "You looked it up already?" Her foot started tapping under the table. She knew the exact number too, that was obvious. I pulled the folded slip from my pocket and put it between us. She did not touch it, just stared at the total like it shouted. I thought it was a mistake. I heard my own voice shake. I almost hoped she would laugh and tell me it was fake. "It's real," she breathed out and leaned back as if something hit her. He wanted to do something big and impressive for once. Her fingers twisted the edge of a napkin until it tore in strips. Listening to her, I realized this was not the first argument about it. "He cannot afford this." I kept my tone low so it would not echo. I remembered friends joking about his debt, but now it felt different. This is not just stretched, this is reckless beyond understanding. Even saying it out loud did not make the situation feel smaller. She watched the napkin pile grow and did not look at me. "He said if he saved for it that would take forever." Another strip came off like she could peel the problem one layer at a time. "He called it an investment in making you feel appreciated." That sentence made my chest burn in a way I still hate remembering. "Why me?" It came out sharper than planned and she flinched. I tried again, softer. "Why not something for you or for both?" The question hung there longer than it should have. She finally met my eyes and there was something wounded there. "He thinks you never get treated right by anyone." Her jaw tightened. "He kept saying your standards are in the basement." Hearing that stung even though part of it felt uncomfortably accurate. "And you just went with it." I tried to keep blame out of it. Jenna laughed once, short and harsh, and shook her head. "You act like anyone can stop him when he latches onto an idea." The way she said it told me she had tried and lost. I rubbed my forehead and stared at the receipt again like it might change. "We need to return this before it wrecks his life completely." Even as I said it, my fingers remembered the stupid thrill of holding it. That mix of guilt and attraction made me feel like the worst person alive. "Return it and he will spiral." She pushed the paper back toward me. "He has been obsessed with proving he is not some broke loser." Her voice dropped lower, "To you specifically." That last part settled between us like a stone on glass. I laughed, but it came out broken and way too loud. People at the next table glanced over and then pretended not to stare. "To me," I repeated, needing to hear how ridiculous it sounded. Underneath the disbelief, there was a thin line of dread. Jenna watched my reaction closely, like this was the test she feared. "Just use it for now." She forced a lighter tone that did not fit. "Let him feel like he did something right for once." In her eyes, though, there was zero belief in that plan. I folded the receipt small enough to hide in my fist. Keeping it felt like agreeing to something I did not understand yet. Throwing it away felt even worse, like erasing evidence before a crime. Either choice carried a different kind of disaster waiting down the line. The next time I saw him, he yanked the door open mid-argument. Phone pressed to his ear, voice raised, face already flushed with annoyance. "Yeah, I told you I'm handling it, stop calling me every hour." He noticed me on the last word and the volume dropped fast. He lifted a finger like wait, then turned his back toward the hallway. "I said Friday, that is the soonest, I told you already." I should have stepped away, but my eyes landed on his lock screen. 3 alert banners stacked there, all about overdue balances and declined charges. He hung up without a goodbye, thumb flying to clear every notification. The phone stayed in his grip a second too long, knuckles tight. When he finally smiled at me, it looked pasted on and brittle. "You made it, Jenna is grabbing food for all of us." He moved aside and I walked past, trying not to stare at him. My brain clung to those red words I had barely read. Overdue, payment failed, contact provider, the exact phrases are burned in now. Back then I told myself I might have misread under the glare. Jenna called from the kitchen for me to come in and sit. Her tone had that forced brightness she uses when she hates the plan. He trailed behind me, still clutching the phone like a shield. I could feel his energy buzzing at my back the whole way. On the table lay an open envelope with a bold logo and numbers. Before I could make out details, he flipped it face down fast. Nothing important, he pushed it under a stack of flyers and wrappers. My stomach tightened because now everything around him looked like a warning. He pointed at the purse sitting on a chair like a centerpiece. "You should bring that thing out, it looks weird hiding in here." His hand rested on the handle, thumb tracing the stitching with focus. It felt like watching someone pet a trophy instead of a present. I joked that I did not want sauce on something worth that much. The laugh stuck in my throat halfway through and sounded off. He shrugged and lifted the purse carefully, almost reverent with every movement. "It suits you, people were still talking about it at that party." Jenna dropped containers on the counter, a little harder than necessary. "People talk about anything free, that does not mean it made sense." She did not glance our way, but her shoulders sat high and tense. He ignored the comment and kept looking at me for some reaction. "Got a new gig coming in, so I am not stressing cash." He leaned against the counter, casual pose, eyes too bright and eager. "Once that hits, this gift is nothing, just the starting point." The way he said starting point made something cold slide down my spine. "What kind of work?" I kept my voice gentle like I was curious. My brain was already replaying those alerts on his screen repeatedly. "Short contract, good rate, buddy connected me." He waved the question away. The details slid off him like they did not exist at all. Jenna finally turned and wiped her hands on a dish towel slowly. "You still waiting on that, or did something actually clear already?" Her eyes locked on his phone, nowhere else while she spoke. For a second his jaw clenched so hard I heard his teeth click. "It is moving, people drag their feet, you know how it goes." He grabbed a drink, took a long swallow, then slammed it down. The sound made me jump and pretend to adjust the strap of the purse. None of this matched the confident guy who threw money at my birthday. We sat down with food, but nobody reached for anything at first. Jenna stared at her plate like she was doing math only she knew. He started talking fast about future plans and ideas, voice climbing higher. It sounded more like a pitch than dinner with a close friend. I asked if everything was all right with bills, trying to sound casual. Instant silence, the kind where even small noises feel suddenly aggressive. He laughed just one sharp note, then shook his head with exaggeration. "Everyone is addicted to worrying about me, I am not a child." "I am not worried about you," the words slipped from me too quickly. They hung there rude, so I rushed to fix them with something softer. "I am worried this thing you bought might drag you under for months." His gaze shifted from the purse to my face like I crossed a line. "You think I cannot handle my own choices?" He leaned in closer. Jenna set her fork down very carefully and watched us without blinking. I felt pinned between their eyes again, same as my birthday night. Only this time there was no cheering crowd around to hide behind. I told him it felt wrong enjoying something so extravagant when he struggled. Yes, I used that word struggled, and he latched onto it instantly. His mouth twisted. You all love that story, me the broke wreck. His hand hit the table, and the utensils rattled in a jagged chorus. Jenna whispered his name like a warning and touched his wrist gently. He pulled away and pushed back from the table, chair scraping loud. Things are changing, I am changing, you will see, bot. H of you. That last part tasted like a threat directed straight through me. He paced once across the room, then stopped and pointed at the purse. That is proof I am done playing small, done letting money own me. The logic made zero sense, but he looked almost triumphant saying it. I realized he was not just performing for me, he was convincing himself. I told him quietly that proof would be covering rent and utilities on time. His eyes flashed quick and sharp before he dropped his stare to the floor. All handled, he muttered it, already reaching for his phone again. The screen lit up with another alert just as his thumb covered it. We ate in awkward bites after that, barely tasting anything in front of us. Small talk limped around the table, kept alive by random comments only. Every few minutes his phone buzzed, and he flipped it face down instantly. Each vibration felt like a countdown I could not see the end of. When I finally stood to leave, he rushed to grab his keys immediately. I will walk you down, someone messed with cars out there last week. Jenna opened her mouth to argue, then shut it, then forced a tired smile. I watched that tiny sequence and understood more than any speech could explain. The hallway felt narrower with just him beside me and nobody else. He walked close, hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched like bracing for impact. Look, I know you think this gift is too much, I get it. He did not sound apologetic, he sounded determined to win a debate. I wanted you to feel valued for once, not like some backup option. His words came quick, almost rushed, like he had practiced them many times. You always act like you are grateful for scraps, it pisses me off. Hearing that from him here made my chest tighten in a confusing way. I asked what Jenna thought about him saying things like that about me. He smirked just a flicker, then shook his head slowly as we walked. She knows you settled for trash before, she talks about it too. That confession stung, and I suddenly needed the conversation to end. We reached the entrance and he stepped in front of the door and paused. You are not going to return it, right? You would tell me first. The question sounded light, but his eyes did not match the tone. In that instant I understood the purse was now a leash, not a present. I told him I had not decided yet and watched his expression shift. Something closed off behind his eyes, like a door slamming shut quickly. Decide fast, he nodded once and pulled the door open for me. I walked out knowing I had just started a countdown I could not stop. Knuckles hammered my door like someone trying to break it down. I jolted up, grabbed the nearest hoodie, and stumbled to the entrance. When I opened it, Jenna stood there barefoot, shaking, clutching her phone. Did he call you too? Her voice was raw like she had been yelling. I pulled her inside before my brain fully caught up with my body. Her hands trembled so hard the screen kept flipping between apps. A string of missed calls and texts filled the notification bar. Unknown number, same area code as their building, same message preview each time. I tapped the latest one and felt my throat tighten halfway through. It was their property manager, not mine, demanding payment before further action. Past due, final notice, the text said, along with a number that hurt. I scrolled up and saw the first message was a week old. He told me it was a billing glitch and they fixed it. Jenna dropped onto my couch like her legs had just given up. Then they called again this morning and mentioned bounced checks and promises. She laughed once, short and empty, and wiped under one eye fast. I asked where he was, even though I already knew the rough answer. Parking lot, arguing with someone about borrowing money again, she stared at the floor. He walked outside like he had everything under control, like always. Her shoulders sagged in a way I had not seen on her before. I perched on the arm of a chair because sitting felt too calm. How far behind are you? The words came out slower than I wanted. She held up 4 fingers, then dropped them like they weighed too much. He swore one contract would clear last month and patch everything up. I thought about his speech in the hallway, about changing his life. I had believed maybe 30% of it, which now felt generous. He had rent money before though, right? It was covered at some point. Even as I said it, I knew exactly where that cash had gone. Jenna looked at me then at the corner where the designer bag sat. Her jaw clenched so tight I thought her teeth might crack from pressure. "That was our safety net," she whispered, eyes fixed on the damn thing. "He pulled the entire amount out 3 days before your party night." Hearing it said out loud made my stomach twist harder than any receipt. I asked how she found out because part of me still hoped. D for error. She unlocked her phone and opened a banking app with near robotic motions. A withdrawal line matched the total I had memorized from that store slip. Visited the branch the next morning after the first warning text came. She rubbed her forehead, nails digging into her skin like she needed pain. They printed the statement and looked at me like I was clueless. Her fingers traced the exact line with the same disgust I had felt. "Why did you not tell me right away?" It sounded accusatory, even softened. She flinched, then squared her shoulders like she had practiced this argument already. "Because you loved the stupid thing and he was finally proud of something." Her voice cracked on that last word, and it hit me harder than the rest. I stared at the bag like it might answer for him and explain itself. If I had known, I would never have kept it here. I meant it. Keeping it suddenly felt like I had been sitting on stolen property. And yeah, that made me feel complicit, whether that is fair or not. Jenna dragged both hands through her hair and let out a tired groan. "He called it a calculated risk, like we were in some motivational video." Her lips twisted. "He told me once he landed this project we would laugh." Her eyes met mine. Obviously nothing landed unless you count that purse. I asked what exactly he told her about his reasons, not the money story. She hesitated, then leaned back like she needed distance from her own words. "He kept saying you deserved one thing in your life that was unavoidably nice." She spat the word nice like it was poison and grabbed a pillow. "And he picked that over having a roof fully covered for the month." The math sat there stupidly simple, and still somehow unbelievable. "I did not ask for a luxury trophy," I muttered, mostly to myself. I had wanted attention, sure, but not at this scale, not like this. Jenna watched me with this mix of hurt and accusation that I understood. "You did not have to ask, he read you like he always does." That line stung because there was a grain of truth buried in it. He paid attention to my complaints in ways my own partners rarely had. "Did he admit the rent thing when you confronted him?" I needed every detail. She nodded slowly, eyes unfocused, like replaying a scene she hated. "He dressed it up, of course, talked about timing and cash flow and destiny." Her hands clenched again, but yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. Before I could answer, her phone lit up on the cushion between us. Contact name for their building office flashed with an incoming call. We stared at it ring, neither of us moving, like kids caught sneaking out. On the final buzz, she grabbed it and hit speaker, chin lifted in defiance. A calm voice reminded her of the overdue amount and upcoming late fees. They mentioned possible legal steps if nothing changed by the end of the week. Jenna mumbled that she understood and hung up before they finished the script. The silence afterward felt heavier than anything the caller had said. "I cannot cover all of this alone," she said, gaze sliding toward me. "I can scrape part together, but the rest is a cliff." She did not ask directly, but the question sat between us anyway. Would I keep the bag or help them climb out of this hole? My chest felt tight because I already knew what the grown-up answer was. I also knew that whatever I chose would rewrite every dynamic between us. "I will help," I heard myself say, far quicker than my thoughts agreed. "But we have to talk to him first. I am not patching this silently." We found him in their parking lot, pacing next to his car like a caged thing. He was talking into his phone, voice low and harsh, words clipped. "That was not the agreement you said this week." I held up my side. He saw us and turned away, finishing with a forced casual goodbye. Jenna crossed her arms and planted herself in front of him without warning. "They called again, on my phone and on hers. They are done waiting." He tried a lazy grin that looked completely wrong given the situation. People in accounts always overreact. It is how they justify their jobs. I stepped closer until I was within arm's reach of both of them. Stop with the jokes, we saw the withdrawals, we heard the last notice. His jaw flexed and his gaze darted to the bag in Jenna's trunk. This is temporary, he said, then stopped when my expression did not change. Temporary like 4 missed payments, Jenna shot back, hands starting to shake. You told me that money was safe, that you had a plan waiting. He opened his mouth then shut it again, like he could not pick a lie. For once there was no performance left, just panic starting to leak through. I asked him straight if the designer bag came out of their housing money. The words sounded harsh even to my own ears, but I did not pull them. He stared at the pavement and let out a harsh breath through his nose. Yeah, he mewed. T-turd then louder, I switched it and I would do it again. That answer knocked the air out of me more than the price ever had. You would choose that thing over not having late notices all over her phone. I pointed toward Jenna, who looked like she might cry or hit him. You call that love, or is this just ego dressed up as romance? He looked up fast, eyes bright with that wild conviction I had seen before. I call it refusing to live small, he said, hands spreading like a preacher. You walk around acting grateful for crumbs, people use you like a doormat. He glanced at the trunk, I wanted you to feel like someone bet on you. The messed up part is that a tiny corner of my chest reacted. It liked the idea of someone betting big on me, even stupidly big. I hated that reaction immediately and wanted to shove it back inside. That was not your bet to make with her home on the line. Jenna's voice finally cracked and came out louder than both of ours. You did not gamble on her, you gambled on me making it work somehow. Tears spilled over now fast and she did not bother wiping them. You used my trust to fund your little hero story for another woman. He stepped toward her, reaching out, then dropped his hand halfway. I was going to fix it before anyone got hurt, that was the plan. He pointed at his chest. This contract is real, the client is dragging. I could tell even he did not fully believe it anymore, his tone wavered. I asked the question that had been buzzing in my mind since that hallway. If this was about me, what exactly were you hoping would happen afterward? He swallowed, throat bobbing, then looked straight at me for the first time. I thought you would finally see I was serious, that I was better than them. Better than who? My voice dropped because I already knew the answer. Those guys who treated you like a placeholder, he said, no hesitation now. I thought if I showed you what you deserve, you might actually pick me. He glanced at Jenna then, just once, and the damage was immediate. Jenna staggered back like someone had shoved her, one hand over her mouth. So this was not just some grand friend gesture, it was a campaign. Her laugh came out broken and sharp, nothing like her usual sound. You put our home at risk to impress my best friend enough to date you. He tried to move closer to her again, but I stepped between without thinking. I am not proud of how good that felt in that moment. Drawing a line like that should have happened much earlier in this mess. Whatever you imagined, that is not happening, not now, not ever. He stared at me like he was seeing a stranger, not the girl with the bag. You are really going to act like you did not enjoy any of it. His voice dropped low, almost gentle. You lit up when you opened it. He was not lying, and that truth tasted worse than any insult. I liked feeling chosen for once, I admitted, throat tight and dry. But not like this, not with debt crawling after you and her crying. I pointed to the building behind him. That place is your responsibility first. Each word felt like slamming a door, one after another, no pause. Jenna cleared her throat and wiped her face with the back of her wrist. The bag goes back, she said, staring at the trunk like it was radioactive. We take the refund, we pay what we can, the rest we handle together. Then she looked at me. If you keep it, you live with this, not me. I nodded before my brain fully processed everything that choice implied. Maybe that was guilt, maybe survival, probably both twisted together. Either way, I felt something snap, like a cord finally giving way. Behind us, he exhaled hard, already planning his next argument. I could feel it. The trunk slammed and my hands closed around the bag before I could think. He stepped in fast, palm on the handle, grip tight, eyes sharper than earlier. You walk away with that, this whole thing becomes a joke. Jenna slid between us, popped the latch again and yanked the bag free. He reached for it once more and caught my wrist instead. You really going to run to the store and undo everything I did? His fingers pressed into my skin just enough to make my heart spike. I pulled back hard and watched his face twist like I had slapped him. Move, Jenna said, no volume, full force, stare locked on his. He held her gaze longer than was smart, then stepped aside suddenly. Go ahead, he muttered, turning away, arms folded, eyes on the concrete. See how fast they put that money back into this disaster. We climbed into my car without another word and shut the doors quick. Jenna buckled up with jerky movements, jaw clenched, breathing shallow and loud. You can still change your mind, I told her, even though my stomach churned. If we back out now, we just proved he can push us forever. The drive felt short and stretched at the same time, if that makes sense. We kept circling the same 3 sentences about responsibility and respect. Every time I glanced at the passenger seat, that stupid luxury piece flashed. I hated it, and still part of me wanted to keep it, which scared me. By the time we pulled into the lot, my palms were slick on the wheel. Jenna held the bag in her lap like it might explode if she dropped it. You want me to carry it? I asked, voice rough from too many thoughts. She shook her head. This started on his account and my address, I finish it. Walking through the doors, I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. A bright young employee greeted us with the kind of smile they train. Looking for anything special today, they chirped, eyes already on the bag. We need to bring something back, I answered, forcing my voice to stay steady. At the counter, Jenna laid the bag down like a confession. I have the receipt, I added, sliding the folded slip across the glass. The employee glanced at the total, blinked once, then pasted the smile back. Was there anything wrong with the item? They asked, hands already moving. Nothing wrong with the product, I said, and that part hurt to admit. It was bought with money that should have gone to housing. The employee's eyes flicked up quick, then back to the screen. They did not comment, but their fingers slowed on the keyboard. They scanned, typed, checked something, then frowned just slightly. So the refund will go back to the original cardholder automatically. My stomach dropped because I realized how dumb our plan really was. Without him here, the cash would never touch the rent account. Is there a way to redirect it? Jenna asked, fingers gripping the counter edge. We can show you statements, we can prove the situation, anything you need. The employee bit their lip, clearly wishing they were anywhere else. I am not allowed to change where funds go, it is locked by the bank. I stepped back, pulled my phone out, and stared at his name in my contacts. If we bring him in, can we do a refund to us instead? The employee shook their head apologetically and tapped another button. He could ask his bank to move it afterward, but for us it is fixed. Jenna laughed once under her breath, no humor in it, just disbelief. So we give this back and trust him to pay our place after. We both went quiet because that was not a plan, it was a gamble. I hated how familiar that word felt in this story now. I hit call before I chickened out and put it on speaker. He picked up on the second ring like he had been staring at his phone. You at the store already? His voice came through, light and mocking. Yeah, I answered, and they can only send the refund to your card. Silence, then a slow exhale that sounded like a long curse held back. So you return it, I get the money, and what, become your cashier? Behind the sarcasm I heard fear, which almost made me soften. Almost, but not enough to forget Jenna's face on my couch. We are not asking you for pocket money, Jenna snapped, leaning toward the phone. We are trying to stop an eviction notice from showing up on our door. He scoffed, louder this time. They always push, they never actually jump straight to that. Even the employee flinched hearing that, and they did not know the whole story. I cut in before the argument spiraled. Listen, we will send you a screenshot of the receipt once the return clears. You log into your account, you drive straight to the building office, you pay. If you do not, I will make sure everyone knows exactly what you did. He barked out a sharp laugh that sounded too close to losing control. You going to post about me, that the plan, main character yourself online? His voice dropped, you would drag your best friend's relationship through dirt. That one landed because he knew exactly where to poke. I do not care about appearances anymore, I answered, and I surprised myself. This was not a cute mistake, this was using someone else's home as a stunt. If you want your pride more than a stable place to sleep, say it. The employee pretended not to hear, but they definitely listened to every word. He stayed quiet long enough that I thought he would hang up. When he spoke again, the edge was gone, replaced by something tired. "Return it," he said, voice lower now. "Text me the proof, I will handle it." I did not believe him fully, but it was the only door left. I nodded at the worker like we had just received a contract. They processed the return, tapped a few more keys, and handed something over. "A confirmation number," they explained, sliding the slip toward me. I took a photo, then sent it to him with a single line. "Your turn," that was all I wrote, hands still trembling slightly. Jenna watched the message send, watched the tiny delivered mark appear. "We did our part," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "It is on him now, and I am so tired of it always being on him." We walked back out to the parking lot feeling weirdly lighter and heavier. No bag in our hands, no pretty distraction, just responsibility waiting. In the car, Jenna stared out the windshield and chewed her lip. "If he does not go to that office, I am done, I mean it." Her phone buzzed before I could answer, and she snatched it up. A text from him came through, just a screenshot of a transfer page. In line, the caption read, then a picture of the building hallway. It did not fix everything, but it kept them inside for now. Later that afternoon, after dropping her off, I sat on my couch alone. My apartment felt too quiet without that loud symbol of drama on the chair. I clicked open social media and scrolled past ads for the same brand. Each polished photo made my chest clench like I still had it hidden. My door rattled again long before I expected anyone. When I opened it, he stood there with tired eyes and a thin smile. "Congrats," he said, leaning on the frame. "You saved the day, everybody clap." I crossed my arms and stayed planted firmly inside my own space. "Did you pay the whole amount or just enough to shut them up?" He rolled his eyes, pulled up his banking app, and held the screen up. A big debit line sat there, matching the refund going to the property company. "You happy now?" he asked, lowering the phone. I did the right thing. "For them, yes," I answered. "For you, I am not sure yet." He smirked, but there was no real energy behind it anymore. "I lost the bag, I lost months of breathing room, maybe I lost you too." He shrugged one shoulder. "At least I tried to do something big." "You did something loud, not something good," I corrected, voice quieter now. "I am not a prize you win by burning down your own life." He stared at me like he wanted to argue and could not find words. For once, the silence between us belonged to me, not his speeches. "You will miss the way it felt though," he said finally, eyes narrowing. He meant the moment I opened that box, the rush, the awe. I hated that he was not entirely wrong about that tiny rush. "Yeah," I admitted, "and that is exactly why I needed it gone." Behind him, the stairwell door creaked, and Jenna stepped into view. She took one look at us and walked forward, shoulders squared. "There is a spare key on the counter," she told him, voice flat. "Pick up your stuff tomorrow, I will be at work, do not wait." His head snapped toward her like he could not believe she meant it. "Over this?" he asked, laughing once. "Over trying to give your friend more?" She did not even blink. "Over you choosing her fantasy version over our rent." The word "our" hit harder than anything I had said all day. He looked between us like we were a panel on some cruel show. "You two always viewed me as a project," he finally muttered, backing away. "You want me responsible and dazzling at the same time, impossible math." He turned and headed down the stairs without another glance. When the door shut behind him, the building felt strangely still. Jenna leaned against the wall and let out a breath that shook. I am not proud it took a handbag crisis to wake me up. She met my eyes. "You and I are not fine either, but at least this part is done." I nodded because she was right, we were not fine. There was resentment in her gaze, and I could feel guilt in mine. "I will help with whatever late charges show up," I told her, no drama. "But after that I need distance, or we will just keep cutting each other." Now when I see that same brand on strangers in grocery lines, I flinch. I do not envy them, I wonder what story lives behind their purchase. Maybe it is just someone with money to burn, maybe it is another mess. Either way, I know one thing, I am done confusing chaos with being valued.